made their sacrifice now. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all, everywhere. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation, all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Tell me what you know about love. Tell me what you know about hate that keeps us separated. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all, in every way. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Oh, love. So many can testify. Love, oh, love. But you still can't satisfy. You keep on praying. You wish that day would come when there'll be equal rights and justice for every man. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite. What you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Tell me what you think about justice, brother man. Oh, tell me what you know about love. Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation, child, child. Let us oh, yo, 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 yo. And wait. Oh, yo, 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 yo. Oh, yo, 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 yo. And wait. Oh, yo, 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 yo. Tell me what you think about Marcus. Tell me what you think about Christ. Made their sacrifice now. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all, everywhere. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation? All are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Tell me what you know about love. Tell me what you know about hate that keeps us separated. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all, in every way. Say what you think, what you think, what as one. Let us unite as one. Oh Lord, so many can testify. Lord, oh Lord, but you still can't satisfy. You keep on praying. You wish that day would come when there'll be equal rights and justice for every man.
Hi, pleasant good morning to everyone out there in the viewing and listening audience. Welcome to another program of Policing with You. I have in the studio with me a representative from the Caribbean Credit Card Corporation. Can you introduce yourself?
Good day, good morning. My name is Odessa Huggins. I am the fraud analyst from the Caribbean Credit Card. A Caribbean Credit Card is a financial company that deals with card providing of two different, basically different banks around the region. We deal with two specific banks within the federation. Here, the Bank of Nevis, and I think it's Nevis National Bank. Okay, and my role as fraud analyst is what I do is try to detect whatever fraud trends that we may see within the industry. We have lots of card activities, so we tend to reach out to the banks and you advise them of the different trends and the mitigation methods that they can use to prevent fraud.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that introduction and a little bit of what you do. The focus of the program today will be to inform card holders how to avoid threats. We know that this 21st century, especially with the advent of COVID-19, a lot of industries, business environments have gone paperless, have gone digital. So this topic today is very timely. So Miss Huggins, Miss or Mrs.? Miss Huggins, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to jump straight into the questions. And the first question from me is, can you tell us a little about your job as a fraud analyst and what do you do?
Okay, like I said, basically what I do on a daily basis is we look at the different fraud trends around the region along with local fraud trends, and trends do change very fast, so it's not like you see a fraud trend today, it's going to be the same next week. So we try to inform them, keep the banks abreast with what is happening and whatever mitigation methods that are available that we can use to try to mitigate, not eradicate, but mitigate. Yes, to mitigate fraud.
Okay, so two specific things I want you to clear up. When you say mitigate, what do you mean? And when you say fraud trends, can you, for the viewing and listening audience, can you tell us one or two fraud trends that you've seen?
Okay, so when I say mitigate, it means lessen, because we cannot avoid fraud. And that's what persons need to, even our partner institutions, they don't like to hear it, but we cannot stop it. So we try our best to mitigate as much the losses, because there are losses for fraud. Okay, when it comes to fraud trends, for instance, we have skimming.
Skimming?
Yes. Okay. Skimming is basically the stealing of card data using some sort of device. For instance, you can have a device attached to an ATM machine. It may look normal. It may look like the normal card reader where you slip your card in. But actually it's a device that was put there by a fraudster to basically steal your card data. And you would not know that, right? What they do with this data afterwards, they can use the data on counterfeit cards, and these cards are distributed. Next thing, your account is being used out of Mexico.
Mexico, wow.
You know, because they're selling the card data, and it's being used all over, right? Another method we call shoulder surfing.
Shoulder surfing.
Yeah. This is a simple method and that people may not pay attention to. You might be there sitting in public with your phone and you're typing in your password or something, and somebody's practically over your shoulder looking to see what you're putting in. Sometimes they may not be, according to how far they are, they may not be able to see physically, but you can see the direction of your fingers. Even that they look at. You know, so
And they remember that.
yeah, and they remember that.
Wow.
So if you sign into your phone and then you sign on to your online bank account, they're looking at you, right? You have to be careful of that. Sometimes it may be a stranger, and it could be somebody you know. You can't, decide that it may not be somebody you know, and so you just need to be careful and pay attention.
Okay,
Right.
well, thank you very much for mentioning those two for our trends. What I would like to ask now, we're talking about threats targeting card holders and institutions today. Can you elaborate a little bit more? What are some of the threats targeting them?
Okay, so you have sometimes you have fictitious merchant promotions.
Fictitious merchant
Yeah.
promotions.
Like, for instance, green card lottery. You may sign on to the internet and you see something popping up on the site telling you that, oh, you can get your green card if you do certain things or whatever.
Yeah, I see that. I see
Yeah,
that a
yeah.
few times.
And they may eventually, it may reach a point where
So that's not real.
a lot of them, they may not be real. I'm not saying all, but you have to pay attention.
Wow.
You have to pay attention. It may not be, because then sometimes they reach the point where they're asking you for your card number, your card data information, and once you give out that, you can't take it back, right? Because they may promise you they're not using it. I've seen websites where they tell you you sign up for something and you don't have to pay, but then the next page you see they're asking you for your card holder information, right? Well, if they're not gonna charge you, then there's no reason to really ask for it, right? Another thing is the vacation winnings. Oh, they're telling you want a vacation just by maybe signing on to something. You want a vacation, and some persons fall for it, unfortunately.
Wow.
And so you need to really look out for these stuff. There's also the educational enhancement offers. Sometimes this may not be fraud, but it could happen where, like, I know of one instance where they would say, some of them are interested in furthering their education.
Yes, a lot of people.
Right?
Yes.
And some of us can't afford it. So
is true.
you see these deals and they tell you maybe, oh, you get a percentage, or they won't charge you for 2 months and that kind of thing. Well, then you provide your card number, and then all of a sudden these charges start
Wow.
hitting your cards.
Wow.
So these are stuff you need to really pay attention to, because it means that you're scammed.
Okay, before you go on, let me ask you this. Are these things happening in St. Kitts?
Yeah, they happen.
They're happening in St. Kitts.
They happen.
You're talking about skimming and shoulder surfing and...
People do that all the time.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Thanks for letting us know.
It
Okay.
happens, yeah.
Okay, let me ask another question. How can, in light of what you said, and I know you haven't even touched the surface, based on what you've said and other things that you know, for the benefit of the listening audience and the viewing audience, educate us a bit more. How can these threats be avoided?
Okay, first of all, persons need to be aware of their physical surroundings. Avoid, like the ATMs, avoid isolated ATMs. For instance, I myself, I use Republic Bank, and if I leave work late where I know I have to go to the ATM, most of the times I wouldn't go to Birdrock, although maybe sometimes Birdrock may have persons, but I wouldn't go to Birdrock. I prefer to go to 4th Street where I know the street is always busy.
Okay.
Right? So you avoid the isolated areas, because you never know who may be watching, and persons are scary.
Yes. Okay.
You also, when you go to the stores and all that, you need to keep your card in view.
Keep your card in view.
Yeah, make sure you keep your card in view during the transactions. And for instance,
Why?
because you need to make sure that you have your card, and the person that the merchant itself, or people surrounding you are not really looking at you. You have to make sure as well that the terminal that you're pushing it, because in these days we're using pins. So ensure that nobody's watching you when you're putting in the pin, because people see that.
What? And something you go shopping, and when you go shopping, they say, hold on, and they go over there, go swipe it, and sometimes they bring you back a paper.
You still have to be careful, because
or you go over and then everybody around you, you got to punch in your pin.
You never know who
the man right hand you, or the woman right hand you.
Exactly.
So you should avoid that.
You have to pay attention. Just pay attention.
Wow.
Because people can take your card number. Once they have your card, they can take your card number.
So people are that good that they stand over you and all along number they just remember?
They will do that.
Gosh. Okay.
Okay. Like I said, you conceal your PIN. Again, you be wary of the offers that sound too good. That, like I mentioned before about the lottery and the educational enhancements and all of that. You basically pay attention and not fall for all the scams and all that, because the thing is, once you're already giving out the card data, your card, the expiration date, the 3 numbers to the back, that's it. That's all you need to process a transaction online.
And they got with your money.
Exactly. The PIN now, if the thing is, with all the security on the card that within the networks and your institution may have on the card, they can protect you from your card being stolen, right, or lost.
Okay.
So this is where the card holders themselves need to pay attention and need to be careful and secure their card. Your card is equivalent to your money.
Wow.
Okay. So someone steal your card, that person shouldn't, even if they steal it, they shouldn't be able to use it at the ATM.
Okay.
Because that PIN, you're not supposed to lose your PIN. Nobody's supposed to know what your PIN is. Normally, if you had a PIN mailer, they would advise you to either, memorize the thing and get rid of it. Because once that person gets the PIN and they're able to use that at the ATM, you have a problem. Because even if you go to an institution to tell them, my card was stolen, it was used at the ATM, the first thing you want to know is how did they get to use it, because the PIN. And then it's difficult for you to even dispute the transaction.
Okay.
Because it means that to some extent you were negligent. Even if they stole the card, they're not supposed to get the PIN. So I need people to be aware of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
If you wanna go on some more?
No, go ahead.
You can,
No, it's okay.
If someone, and based on what you just said, it's not all of us are as vigilant as we should be and as careful as we should be. So 1 or 2 of us will fall for these unfortunate situations you've mentioned. If someone is affected by such an unfortunate event, is there any way to mitigate the consequences?
The only thing, once you recognize you have been scammed, and I say scammed because a lot of the time it's scamming. Once you recognize, you have to report it as soon as possible.
Report it as soon as possible.
Right? You report whatever. If you feel that your card data has been compromised, the first thing you do, you call your bank, you ask them to block the card.
Ask them to block the card?
Yeah.
Okay.
Once the card is blocked, they can't use it. The transactions won't go through if they try. Right?
What if I'm overseas? I go in Miami and I realize I lost my card.
Well, that happens, then you have to try and reach the bank.
Try and reach the bank. Try and get a call to home.
Yeah.
And tell them, look, I lost my card. Could you block it for me?
If the thing is, that what we do too is we have and we should be touching that later on, but we have procedures in place where we have rules that we implement, right, for trying to detect the same fraud trends that we spoke about earlier. We build rules according to the fraud trends. So
Such as?
So the rules, for instance, you build a rule with transactions over, say, 5 transactions, 10 transactions in one day. After that, decline. Or 5 transactions. But we build a rule according to the fraud trend.
And so according to the trend, the rules would adjust.
Yeah, with trigger, right? But the thing is, you can't be too robust with the rules, because then what happens is that legitimate transactions get declined. When that happens, we normally the card holder, will get kind of frustrated. They may call. But in cases like that, we provide assistance in that. Once we can identify the card holder, we say, well, I'm Odessa Huggins, I'm in New York, and I'm not getting whatever. They would look and they would recognize, okay, you tried the transaction, we can offer you an exemption. Right? This exemption would avoid the transaction being declined again.
Okay.
Right? Because we
so
know how
exemption
it's
for that particular period.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can give short-term exemptions. We can give it for an hour, half an hour, anything. Once we agree with the card holder when they're going to try again, and we do that.
Okay, let me ask you this. I know a friend of mine, and he went overseas to Miami. I want to know if this falls within what you're saying. And he didn't normally buy a lot of stuff and spend a lot of money on a particular day. But that particular day, because he was going to shop and in Miami, he was spending over, I think it's over $1,000, and then he found that his card was declined, and he said he had to call the bank, and then the bank said, okay, we're gonna open up the card for you to use it. Is
that could have been that we provide parameters as well, because there are parameters on the cards where you on the card itself you can maybe only spend a certain amount with a certain period of time, and then there are the fraud rules that would kick in as well.
Okay.
So it could be either one of them that stop. What we normally advise the banks to ask the card holders to call and say when they're going to be overseas.
Okay.
Or even the bank would provide that information to say you're going to be overseas, so you're expected to be overseas in these.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be an advice for the listening audience and viewing. That if you for some reason you're traveling, it's important to let your bank know I'm going to be traveling and I might be using my card for this period, and maybe they would noise you.
They would noise you, and they could even provide the exemption ahead of time just to make sure that you're getting through in that particular area. Okay.
Okay. Let me ask you this before we take a minute, take a break for word from our sponsors. Because we know everybody, some work on shift, persons will go overseas, and the time difference in zones and stuff. 4 Cs. What's the time in the work? 24 hours?
24/7.
24/7.
Yep.
Say like police officers.
Yeah.
So somebody's always there.
Somebody's always there.
Okay.
We have shifts, and we have persons who work from 11 to 7, 7 to 3, 3 to 11.
Just to make sure things are done properly. Okay, that's comforting to know. Okay. GQ, can we take a break and come back after a word from our sponsors?
Water is life. Water is life. Do just one thing.
Every job come, make sure you check for leaks around your house every day. Every job come, when brushing your teeth, don't let the water run away. Come stay the water, preserve the water right now. Every job come, save the water whenever you take in your shower. Every job come, make saving the water your business every hour. The water right now. It's up to me and you and you and you and you. The water right now.
Do just one thing.
Let me tell you something. Every Monday and Thursday night from 8 until 10 p.m. on Zolizer Radio Power 96.1, tune in for Straight Talk.
Your job is to serve the people, not to get in the back and forth that sometimes as humans, people can say things about you and you believe there's a limit. But the one who wears the armor and carries the name of God, let him fight your battle.
It's a program where you can share your views.
Well, I don't usually call into the radio station, but I had to call in. I was in the Federation over the weekend and I was quite impressed. Flew in over Port Zante and I see the development happening there. I drive up in the east in your area for years and years and years. That area has been neglected. Those houses there on the other side of Mr. Byron gas station was. Y'all getting ready to do something about it.
Ask your questions.
What Douglas want to do? Be a Satan and judging sin?
Tune in every Monday and Thursday night from 8 until 10 p.m. right here on Zolizer Radio with your host, Ian Patches Liebert for Straight Talk.
Okay, welcome back to another program of Policing with You. I have here in the studio with me Miss Huggins, Miss Odessa Huggins from 4 Cs. She's a fraud analyst, and we're here speaking about how to avoid threats with regards to card holders. Okay, after we are back now, so I'm going to ask another question. What are the threats targeting institutions? We've spoken about individuals, Now, to shift a bit, the institutions, what are some of the threats to the institutions?
Okay, firstly, one of the threats that is, well, this is real current as well, because it's called account testing enumeration, right? What that is there are fraudsters out there where they're trying there for however they did get a hold of certain cards or bins, we call them, which is the first 6 or 8 digits of your card.
Oh.
Right? Those are the bins. We're now into 8 digits, so you may see some bins are now 8 digits. Right? And they get a hold of those, and they actually have software where they send these out using the software. They may use illegitimate merchant accounts or even legitimate merchant accounts, and they send them out with testing transactions to see which cards are valid.
Oh, okay.
So there would be a way which cards are valid, because they may get back a response code that says insufficient funds. So right away you know this is a valid card, but it's just that maybe no funds on it, right? So they use those measures, and once they are able to get back those responses where they find the active cards, they then maybe sell those card data to maybe even on the dark web, or they make counterfeit cards, and this is where the fraud starts, because they have already tested and they recognize these are valid cards, and they process transactions on them. Now this is again where the institution part of the mitigation method for this would be the rules that we spoke about, right? Certain velocity rules dedicated to certain, for instance, if it's card present, what we call card present transactions where you're at the merchant store, right? Rules dedicated to online transactions, certain online transactions. So we try to implement those to assist the institutions with these type of fraud. This bin enumeration became even more prevalent since the COVID. Back in 2020, when everybody shut down and that kind of thing, it's like everything went haywire when it comes to that. Institutions were being affected left, right and center, because I guess persons ain't working, they sit home and they
find things to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really bad, but and so this is why we try to assist the banks and advise them to educate the card holders as well, to ask them to really pay attention to their accounts. I think when Jania was here, she would have mentioned we try to ask the institutions to advise their card holders to not attach their savings account to their debit cards.
Oh.
Right? Because once a fraudster...
Put your debit card and your savings account separate.
Yeah. So you have your debit card and you have your savings account, but you have another account attached to the debit. So you transfer accordingly what you need to use. But not have your thousands and millions of dollars on your savings account and your debit card attached to it. Because once a fraudster hits it, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Right? So... we try to ask. I mean, some persons are stubborn about not wanting to do it, but I mean, it's a protection. It's protection for your money. One of the other threats to institutions is data security breach. Now that's on a serious higher level where the institution itself is being attacked, right? And normally they would
like from a hacker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the institutions would have their firewalls and all of the security measures in place, but still the hackers, they try, right? It's like they're hitting, but they're not supposed to get in. It may happen, and what do you do then? Nobody wants that.
That's true.
And it's a serious threat to institutions. So the institutions out there, they try to ensure that their security measures are on top. Okay.
And be constantly adjusting.
Yeah. And they go with the flow, and there are all the different stories, because there are trends out there that they're changing, and people are getting more smart. Smarter and smarter.
Thank you. I want the callers to know that they can call in if they have. Yeah, we have a call? Okay. Pleasant good morning. You're on the air. Police in with you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, and how are you today?
I'm alright, sir.
Officer, I do recognize your voice, but the other person who seems to be a woman, I don't know her, and I do know the hostess. However, it's unfortunate that I don't normally have the time to do these things, but this morning I had to nip it in the bud. And I'm not using the word approximate. At 9:35 this morning, the 24th of February, Thursday, I was coming up along the Newtown Bay Road. When I approached the junction to turn left, I had no intention to turn left. I didn't turn left. When I proceeded, it was a line of car coming from the eastern side going down the road from the fishery. A pickup came out the stop sign, blocked me from driving clearly up the road. Vehicles coming down had to stop just because he wanted to get out. The traffic was tight, a lot of vehicles. He slowed down, I recognized the face of the person I think I knew. He put his thumb up in the air, and you know who was sitting kind of him in front of the vehicle? A police officer, a woman. Officer, I really do not know if these things are done on purpose or because they're wearing the uniform of the St. Kitts Nevis police force and feel they have the right to do anything. But obviously it is wrong. If I had hit him, you know what the clue they would have used? I was driving fast. That is always evident to hear. He was driving fast, she was driving fast. You know, the real nonsense these people does in the light of a police officer seeing what taking place and didn't even tell him to stop or said he was wrong and just stood there and did nothing.
Okay, caller, I want to thank you for calling. That's an unfortunate situation. If you have a report with reference to the police officer that you mentioned, there's an issue. There's a particular forum that you can take for today. We have with us Miss Odessa Hughes from Odessa Huggins, sorry, from 4Cs, and we want to streamline our questions and our calls today because we're about to wrap up with reference to card holders. So let's be cognizant of that and streamline our questions geared to Miss Huggins.
We have another call.
Yes, please.
All right. Good morning, you're live.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Yeah, I have a question here. Now, do you know that sometimes if you go to an office and the information that you give the person who you are, who are dealing with you, the customer service, do you know that individual could pass on your information to a scam to con you, and then according to what the con artist get from you, then the person who pass on that information, they get the share? So the detector, the lady, I do want to know if she would detect that kind of behavior. I'll listen out here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All I can say is that I have never come across a situation like that, but most we can say is that if there is any card holder out there who suspects that they would have given the information to anybody within an institution and they suspect that their information was shared, they should report it, right? Because then the matter will have to be investigated.
Okay, thank you very much. GK, any more questions? That one gone? Question? Yes, okay. Pleasant, good morning, you're on the air. Do you have a question pertaining to for Miss Huggins? We're not hearing you. I'm sorry. Caller, we're not hearing you. GQ, you can hear? Can you?
No, the call is not that clear. We have another call though.
Yes. Pleasant, good morning. You're on the air, policing with you. Do you have a question?
Superintendent, I'm calling from New York City.
Yes, sir.
I'm a native of St. Kitts. One time I was home visiting, and I was over Frigate Bay in the casino.
Yes.
And I had a few drinks, and I was using my card excessively, my debit card. In America, if you use a debit card excessively, they shut your account down.
Okay.
They wouldn't accept no more transaction. So I had to call my bank in New York and ask them why my account was shut down. They said they monitor my account because it was used excessively.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what they do in the United States. If you use a card excessively, they shut it down. And the owner of the card have to call the bank and they ask you certain questions like your PIN number and your mother's maiden name and stuff like that to know that you use the right person using the card.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for that contribution.
And this is Sergeant Emery Uncle.
Sergeant Emery Uncle.
Yeah, Sonny Boy.
Yes. All right. Thanks for calling, sir.
Thank you.
All right. GK, can we have one more call because you know we have to wrap up. Yes, Pleasant. Good morning.
Yes, Pleasant. Good morning. You know, sometimes in your home you could get your card and you got the number and someone the family story, or even when you're at work and you send someone by the machine because you don't know how to do up the machine and they get the code. They could put it up and next time when you send them, they got the number and they drop all the money too.
Yes, thank you very much for that comment. I would allow Miss Huggins to respond.
This would carry you back to my earlier statement where I would have said that your PIN should be yours only. You're not supposed to share your PIN. Even the caller before that said that when to verify the transaction, when he's in it, he mentioned that they would ask you for your PIN. It's nowhere that they ask for the PIN. Because when the PIN is generated, not even the person from the institution know what the PIN is. Right? So they would never ask you for your PIN. But back to the last caller, you cannot share your PIN with anybody. I guess it would be a matter of trust. At some point you may think that you can trust the person and you share your PIN. But just know that any fraud that comes from your account using that PIN, it's quite difficult for you to dispute the transaction because it means that it's either you who did the transaction or somebody would have taken the PIN and taken the PIN without your knowledge. It's some measure of negligence because you're not supposed to share the PIN. The PIN is yours and nobody else's.
Okay. Okay, Miss Huggins, I have a lot more questions for you, but I'm gonna tie it down to just you wrapping up. Do you have a word for our listening and viewing audience? A closing comment?
Okay. This mainly, my thing is to educate the card holders. Because most persons really, they do understand, some don't, literally do not understand. But we want to really enforce that the card holders should pay attention to their accounts because the fraudsters are out there. They're out there just like me and you who decide to put on our clothes every morning to go to work, and that is their job on a daily basis. So you have to be very careful and protecting your account because your card is practically equivalent to your money. Nobody wants to be a victim of fraud, to lose their money and all of that, because there's a dispute process that may not be right away. You have to the transactions that have to be investigated, and the dispute getting back your money may not be the same time, right? So please, everybody, be aware and just pay attention to your account, and you check your account every now and again to make sure that your balances are what they should be if you don't have alerts on your account from your institution. Basically, that's it.
Okay, well, Miss Huggins, I want to thank you very much for coming. My closing comment, GQ, is some crime tips, because in the Federation, having looked at the statistics, we as a police organization have realized that larcenies and malicious damage are prevalent, and they make up over 50%, approximately 50% of the crimes with reference to 2021. And I'm here to share, at the closing of the program, I want to share just a few crime tips for the listening and viewing audience. And they are as follow. Do not leave your purse, wallet, or cell phones in plain view. If you go to any automatic teller machine for cash, check for people around and make sure it is well lit and in a safe location. Carry only the cards you need and avoid carrying large amount of cash. If you make a purchase with your credit card, be sure to obtain the carbon or see that they are destroying it in front of you. Always park in a well lit and well traveled area. Do not park in a remote dark area. When you return to your vehicle, scan the interior of your car to be sure no one is hiding inside. Lock your vehicle and put up your windows even while you are driving. Have your keys in hand when approaching your vehicle and approaching your home. Additionally, when you are leaving your vehicle, do not leave cell phones and anything of any value in view, because we found that there's a lot of larceny from unattended vehicles. That's persons coming and cracking your glass and just taking out the stuff that they can see. Even laptops and stuff, we see people just leaving there in view. Okay, so these are crime tips I need the listening and viewing audience to be cognizant of and be safe. What I would like to say, Miss Odessa Huggins from 4Cs, for analyst. I want to thank you very much for taking time out and sharing with us, the listening and viewing audience, and policing with you these very important information. And at this point, we know going forward we can't go back. It's a paperless environment. It's pure credit cards and the pure cards and the pure swiping and tapping, and that's where your information is digitally. So we really have to take cognizance of what is going on when it comes to our cards. So I want to say thank you very much from the Royal St. Christopher News Police Force and the Commissioner, and thank you very much for coming to share with us.
Thank you as well.
All the best.
Okay, bye.
GQ, see you when I see you.
That keeps us separated. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all in every way.
Experience the value. Get the cable's value bundle today. Internet, Ultra TV, free HBO Max, and a free Cable Platinum Loyalty MasterCard for only $157 monthly. Feel the thrill of 74 channels of Ultra TV. Feel